Welcome, night owls and truth chasers. This is Secrets Behind the Stars, your late-night companion in the glow of runway lights and red carpets, the voice that whispers what others only dare to hint. Before we dive into tonight's unfolding drama, make yourself at home in our constellation, subscribe, tap the bell so you don't miss our midnight exclusives, and if you like riding first class in the world of showbiz storytelling, consider hitting join to keep this engine roaring. Fasten your seatbelt, because we are touching down right where the whispers get loud and the silences become statements. In those hazy, in-between hours when Istanbul seems to hold its breath between night and morning, the international airport became a theater of quiet thunder. Under pale, fluorescent light, Ebru Şahin emerged from the tunnel of sleep-deprived travelers with that poised calm only true stars manage to wield. She had just stepped off a plane from Saudi Arabia, closing a whirlwind stretch in Riyadh, a carousel of ceremonies and invitations that flung open golden doors and left the cameras breathless. The fatigue was clear in her gaze, yet so was something newer, brighter, and impossible to ignore, an air of decision. She was back, not just with luggage, but with a resolve that would set the gossip world alight. The moment she appeared, the shudders woke like crickets at dawn. That elegant coat, the barely there makeup, the understated confidence, it all spelled control in a place designed for chaos. Yet what grabbed every eye wasn't the flawless styling after a long-haul flight, it was the absence at her side. There was no Akin Akınözü shadowing her stride, no familiar, broad-shouldered silhouette to fold into the snapshot of the hour. For watchers trained to interpret missing pieces as loud as headlines, the empty space beside her hummed like a neon sign. She offered courtesy smiles and a tired nod, but when the questions came, gentle at first, then thrumming with expectation, Ebru didn't tuck herself behind the usual velvet rope of polite non-answers. She started with the part of the story everyone expected. Riyadh had been special, she said, in a way a career doesn't forget. Warmth, admiration, powerful rooms, meaningful meetings. It sounded like a chapter she would reread one day. Yet even as she shared that glow, something in her tone hinted we weren't just here to talk about applause and schedules. Then came the pivot, unmistakable and bracing. A reporter's voice slipped, almost casually, into the undercurrent that had followed her for months, the private stuff, the off-camera hours, the question they all knew she preferred to leave without shape. People leaned in. You could feel the ripple. Ebru didn't flinch. She didn't smile as a shield, didn't bat the change of subject away. In a voice as steady as the hum of the terminal floor, she admitted she had spent the previous night, just before her return, in a hotel, sharing quiet, stolen time with her boyfriend, Akin Akınözü. It was the kind of sentence that doesn't shout, but detonates. Cameras lunged to read her smallest expression. Micro-movements became breaking news. Was there a flush to her cheek? Did her mouth tilt toward a private memory? The airport, a place designed for motion, suddenly felt like it had stopped. And almost immediately, outside the sliding doors and into the echoing caverns of social media, the sparks multiplied. Posts popped up like fireworks across timelines. Ebru spoke. Ebru confirmed. Ebru didn't evade, didn't hide. The couple that had glided through years of speculation with a choreography of restraint now had a line in the sand, drawn, not leaked. Was it a shift in the weather or a planned season finale? The debate sprung up fast. Those who track Ebru's public presence as if it were a pulsating stock ticker noted how calm she seemed, even relieved, perhaps, at letting a simple truth stand without a bodyguard of qualifiers. Analysts of celebrity temperature read this as more than a casual confession, it was an announcement of safety. If a person can refer to the intimacy of a hotel night without hedging or fear, it often means the relationship has matured beyond anxiety into a fortress of its own design. People close to her have long whispered that Ebru wants talk about her life to be steered by reality, not mythology. If there will be conversation, and there always is in this galaxy, let it stay anchored to what actually happens, not to the foggy outline of what strangers project. That's why, in the corridors of tabloid offices, another theory started taking shape. This wasn't a slip caused by exhaustion. This was a controlled exit. After months of letting mystery feed the machine, she chose to feed it a morsel of truth, the kind that changes the flavor of everything that comes after. On the other side of the chessboard stood Akin, quiet as ever. Those who know him describe a man who leaves the stunts to the screen and treats the perimeter of his life like a temple. He didn't rush to type a statement, didn't drop a photo, didn't strike a pose for confirmation. The silence was not defensive, it was consistent. If there was a new door opening, it was Ebru's hand on the handle, and the world wondered how he would step through it, or whether he would simply nod and keep walking forward with that gentle gravity he wears so well. Meanwhile, the story found its heartbeat from a detail as ordinary as it was intimate. They had carved out time. In a calendar where transatlantic flights and call times devour daylight, they had found a window and filled it with presents, a room, a view, the kind of small ritual that nourishes a bond when schedules behave like oceans. It was one night, one place, but the message felt bigger. We are not at the mercy of our careers. We choose, and we meet. Then the second act arrived like a cymbal crash. Someone asked where Akin was at that very moment, and after a brief, almost theatrical pause, Ebru's answer rang clear. He had gone back to Milan. The magnet clicked. In an instant, her earlier admission connected to a broader map. Not two people slipping into avoidance, but two professionals crossing continents while keeping the same compass. That single sentence sparked a blaze brighter than the first. Milan. Not just a city, but a headline. Fashion Week rumors began to flicker. Meetings with international creatives? A new campaign? A project brewing behind the velvet curtains of Europe's most watchful rooms? What made the revelation hit even harder was her demeanor. She didn't wrap the news in defensiveness or concern. The subtext hung there, simple and serene. He's working, I'm working, we're good. For anyone hunting shadows of jealousy or fractures, there was nothing to grab. If anything, there was the scent of trust, that rare perfume you cannot fake because it lingers all on its own. And the internet did what the internet does. The phrase, Akin has returned to Milan, took off as if someone had launched it with a slingshot from the terminal roof. Some fans treated it like a banner of strength, long distance as proof of resilience, not decay. Others hoped for a public reunion in a city built for stylish declarations, maybe a surprise appearance that would send runways into a panic. But the loudest echo was the idea that this couple, once so carefully guarded, was now lighting their path with a crisp, manageable openness. If you listen closely, you can hear the sighs of relief in certain newsroom corners. In the rumor economy, absence invents monsters, presence empties the shadows. Ebru's words were a small lantern, bright enough to allow fewer ghosts to thrive. You could sense the editorial shift almost immediately, the narrative bending toward a woman who doesn't cower beneath the weight of curiosity, who has decided that you cannot be misquoted on what you say clearly and calmly. Of course, the fandom didn't sing in unison. One chorus applauded the courage, calling it refreshingly grown up, a move that treats audiences like adults instead of feeding them breadcrumb illusions. Another chorus missed the ecstatic romance of secrecy, arguing that there are chambers of love that deserve to remain silent. But even among the skeptics, there was recognition of a competency, the way she picked her moment, the way she placed her words like stones across a river to invite people to cross without drowning. Seasoned observers stitched in a subplot. For years, Ebru and Akin have carried, separately and together, a mythos built on chemistry and discipline. Two artists whose on-screen magnetism was potent enough to breed legends, and whose off-screen choices rarely betrayed that power. They have played this game expertly, never overfeeding the press, never starving it into hostility. So when Ebru decided to share, it felt intentional, as if she'd chosen an airport, land of departures and returns. As the perfect metaphor. The story was not a blow-by-blow. It was a compass. Here we are. Here is where we're going. In that light, her mention of Milan wasn't a leak, it was a timeline. Your moves, my moves, our rhythm. Yes, our lives are busy. Yes, our commitments pull us like tides. But we meet in the in-betweens and build a bridge out of hours no one else would notice. A hotel room becomes a cathedral. A layover becomes a promise. And while the speculators will speculate, one detail seems immovable. When Ebru said those words, about the night, about Milan, she wore a serenity that didn't read as performance. It looked like a woman standing inside her own life and finding that the walls, finally, are painted in her colors. Whether you call it a strategy or a confession, it was beautiful in its restraint. No melodrama, no grandstanding. Just a steady opening of a door. Which brings us to the heartbeat of this channel. Secrets Behind the Stars isn't about catching people out, it's about listening for the truth inside their choices. And tonight, we heard it. We heard a couple choosing their reality over the noise. We heard an actress turning distance into direction, a partner turning work into witness. The headlines will spin, they always do. But the story they left us is simple and strong. When you trust each other, you don't have to hide. So tell us, insomniac romantics and savvy skeptics alike. Does this new plain-spoken chapter help Ebru and Akin in the long run? Does honesty tame the rumor beast, or does it only make it hungrier for more? If you were juggling love and a life lived in airport lounges, would you do what they did, find a hotel, steal a night, and let the rest of the world buzz outside the door? We want to feel your pulse in the comments, because your take sharpens our story. If this late flight into their world stirred something in you, press like to keep the signal strong. Share this with a friend who thrives on the soft thunder of celebrity truths. And if you want to sit even closer to the action, tap join or send a super thanks to keep our spotlight trained where it matters. We'll keep chasing the moments between arrivals and departures, and we'll be here when the next truth comes striding through automatic doors. Stay tuned, stay bold, and keep your eyes on the glow where stardom meets sincerity. This is Secrets Behind the Stars, signing off, for now, under the hum of runway lights, where every step tells a story and every silence, once in a while, decides to speak.